Like, I remember back when I was in high school, I thought I would never get arrested and that I would just be a good boy that, you know, never got into any trouble and just kind of paved my own way to victory. When in reality, in high school, you're going to go through a bunch of jumps and, you know, bubbles that you don't want to be in. And let's just say one led me to be getting arrested. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another crazy but super embarrassing story. So this story all takes place back in my high school year, funny enough, and this was actually my grade 12 year. Now, in my grade 12 year, one thing I can say is that as time was continuing on and as, you know, the high school years were going by, I always felt this like emptiness in my stomach. And no, it's not the emptiness of love. If I wanted to say that, then it would be near my heart that had the emptiness. But in reality, it was actually my stomach, or I guess my mind, I should say, because as you're reaching your grade 12 year when you're younger, especially if you guys feel this, comment down below. But I started to feel a way that I felt like I didn't finish everything I wanted to do. Even now, since I'm 24, I still feel like I didn't complete everything I've ever wanted to do. But still, overall, I will say that it became a point where I really wanted to like figure out what that thing is and try to make sure that I was going to graduate high school doing everything that I wanted to do. And no, I don't just mean doing the Juvel's Tingle with women. Anyways, I remember one time I was hanging with my buddy Charlie and me and him were just sitting in the school cafeteria together. And as we're sitting in the cafeteria, I remember my buddy like looks at me and he's like, yo, Bubba, check this out. And he ends up showing me something he got from the mall. And what he ended up showing me was something I didn't really recognize until he had to explain it to me. But basically, he told me, yo, Bubba, do you know what these are? No, not really. What is it? Bubba, you don't know what this is? No. Why? Huh. I always knew you were super innocent. I didn't know what he was talking about until he actually explained to me that these like weird device that he was showing me that he got from the mall was actually one of those security tags that people put on clothing. Now, I don't know how often you guys go to the mall, but basically in the mall, if you like go inside and you like go to like the clothing section where most expensive clothing brands are, sometimes have these. There's like these little like tags they put on them just so like, you know, when they walk through like security and stuff. So when you walk through those like weird metal detectors by the entrance of like the mall or the store that you're in, they go off and warn, you know, the other store workers that someone's stealing. I remember I looked at him and I'm like, wait a minute. If these are supposed to tell you that someone's stealing, how'd you get this? I don't know. Apparently this one's broken, but it never went off when I stole a bunch of clothing. Wait a minute. You stole a bunch of clothing? Yeah. My parents don't really buy me clothes, so I thought, why not just steal it? Wait, seriously? Like you just stole like a bunch of clothing? I found this odd because growing up, I never found the purpose to steal. Like I get it. It sucks that sometimes you can't afford something, but stealing it could lead to a lot of trouble. Don't steal. Seriously. Anyways, my buddy Charlie afterwards, he ended up explaining how, you know, stealing is a good thing to me though. So I remember when I told him, dude, like, what's the point of stealing though? He ended up giving me his reason. And this is a kind of a dumb reason, but at the same time, like, I guess it makes sense. Like, I'm not going to be the guy to be like, oh, that makes no sense. Never do this. But what he told me was, well, Bubba, these companies are like multi-billion-dollar companies. They're not going to care about one single shirt or one single pants. Oh, okay. So like you only steal like once in a while, right, Charlie? Oh no, my whole outfit's stolen. I've stolen like clothes like the last 7 days, but you know, it doesn't matter. In my mind, I'm thinking, doesn't that add up? Like, you know, you're stealing just one shirt. In reality, you stole like your entire clothing, like your whole closet's just a bunch of stolen clothes. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb in my opinion. So I remember after he told me that, I thought this was a good moment to like, you know, basically give some wisdom like a Master Yoda and told him that, you know, stealing's not a good thing and there's no point of stealing until he told me there's an addiction and there's a thrill that you get doing it. It gives you like excitement. And he kept going on and on about this, trying to justify him stealing, but in reality, I wasn't really falling for it until I went to the mall that day. I remember after school came and I went to the mall, and when I went to the mall, I ended up seeing Charlie, funny enough, coming out of the Gucci store. And when I saw Charlie walk out of this Gucci store, he was holding a bag that said Gucci on it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, there's no way he stole from the Gucci store. I walked up to him and I'm like, hey, Charlie, like, what's going on? Oh, I just got this awesome shirt. You want to see? Oh, yeah, let me see what you bought. Bought. You're funny, Bubba. What, you didn't buy it? No, I just asked for a bag. Then I ended up saying I want to go try something on. I put on the clothing, and then afterwards I just try it, see if I like it. Then I put it in the bag that they gave me, and then I just walk out. Seriously, it's that simple? Like, it's that simple? Like, seriously? I don't know. Once again, I don't agree with stealing, but there's no way it was that easy. So I ended up telling him that, saying there's no way it's that easy to steal clothing, until he ended up telling me to try it. So me and my buddy, we ended up going to a store called H&M. Now, H&M, please don't sue me. This was back like a long time ago, and to be fair, I did get in trouble and pay for the clothing that I stole. So, you know, yeah, you can tell where this is going. But anyways, I remember me and my buddy, we ended up going inside H&M and we ended up trying on some clothes. I ended up trying on just a t-shirt, but this t-shirt was no ordinary t-shirt. H&M likes to do these funny collabs that are like really weird and stuff. And I remember this one has like Elmo, but with X's across his face. I don't know. I think they're called Cause, the brand. I'm not really sure. But basically, I ended up seeing this shirt and I thought it was pretty cool. So I ended up putting it on and I was like, oh, this looks pretty nice. I like this. So when I said that, my buddy Charlie's like, okay, here, let me go get you a bag. He ends up going to the front, asking the store for a bag. And since the store thought he was like some loyal customer, they ended up giving him a bag, which to be fair, he is a loyal customer. He's just not actually a customer. And he ends up walking over to me with this bag saying, here, just take this to the change room with you and just say you want to try it on one more time. And then, yeah, you should be good. Just put it in there and walk out. Wait, seriously? It's that easy? Dude, just trust me, bro. So I ended up basically walking into the change room. I said I want to try on one piece of clothing. I go inside, I come back out. And since the store was busy that day, they weren't really keeping track on like who's what or, you know, how many pieces of clothing are actually going in and out. So I ended up going inside the change room, put it in the bag, walk out again, and yeah, that's basically it. I just walked out with, you know, a piece of clothing that's in a bag that I didn't pay for. And then I ended up walking out with Charlie. Yeah. We actually just full on walked out. And I remember in my mind, like just before I walked through those doors to like basically hope that the alarm didn't sound, it kind of gave me a thrill. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to stealing, it's like some sort of like crazy thrill that you get. Like it's actually kind of addicting. I can see why people steal, and I can see why, you know, stealing is a thing that many people do, which don't steal. Once again, it's not fun. But after me and Charlie stole from the H&M store, I got really excited and we started doing it at other stores, to the point where I remember we literally had 7 bags from different 7 stores that had stuff in it that we didn't pay for. I remember from there, me and Charlie ended up going back to my place and we ended up basically, you know, going through all the clothing we got. And it was really funny too, because my mom ends up walking in to my room and she ends up seeing that I have like a bunch of like new clothes. And my mom's like, Baba, you should have told me you were going clothing shopping. Oh no, it's okay, Mom. Me and Charlie just decided to go shopping. Oh, okay. Do you have the receipt? Oh, they forgot the receipt, Mom. From 7 different stores? Yeah, Mom. Darn, I totally forgot. And from there, I remember my mom just kind of walks out, totally confused. But to be fair, like, what kind of teenager doesn't lie to their mom? I'm gonna be brutally honest here. And that's not even the craziest part, because I remember right after, me and Charlie were even planning on trying to steal more the next day. Because I remember the next day, I decided to wear my new shoes that I stole, my new shirt, and new pants that I bought. Sorry, I kind of stole everything at this point. And when I walked into school, I remember a lot of my friends were like coming up to me wondering, you know, when did I change my outfit? Because back when I was in high school, especially my grade 12 year, I always wore the same 7 fits that I wore every single time, because I'd never found a point to go to shopping and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess nowadays kids are so focused on, you know, wearing the right drip and stuff. But for me back in high school, I never really cared. I kind of wore the same casual clothing that I still wear it to this day. And I remember my friend Cole ends up walking up to me saying, yo, Bubba, you know that shirt's like worth like $200, right? Oh, yeah, I know. I knew that. When did you like start caring about like designer clothing and stuff? Oh, you know, I just ended up, you know, deciding to do some shopping, stuff like that. I ended up stuttering because I didn't really know like what to tell him. Like I didn't want to tell people that I stole clothes. But then afterwards, I remember me and Charlie, we ended up going to our first class. And when we got inside, I remember the announcements came on out of nowhere saying, Bubba, can you please come to the office? Thank you. I remember I heard this announcement and I got really confused because I'm like, why would the office be calling me out of like anybody? Like that makes no sense, to the point where I ended up just ignoring it. I know you can't really ignore the announcements, but I mean, technically speaking, you can, because if it's like calling someone else's name, most of the school won't care if you do something about it or not. At least in my school, they didn't care. I don't know. Comment down below if your school did, but my parents definitely did not care. And since I ignored the announcements, I want to say 20 minutes later was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. Because as I'm like sitting there finishing my assignment, 2 cops just come into the classroom and they're saying my name, my full government name, saying, all right, so which one of you guys' name is Bubba? I remember my whole school just ends up looking at me, and instantly the cops knew who I was because everyone turned their head right to me. And he ends up walking up to me and saying, all right, son, stand up, hands behind your back where I can see him. I remember panicking and my heart dropped to my stomach, and I'm looking at this cop saying, wait, why am I getting arrested? And he ends up looking at me and he's like, you really don't know, huh? No. Why am I getting arrested? Huh, nice shirt you're wearing, Bubba. And then afterwards, when he said that, I instantly knew it was because of stealing. He ends up arresting me, and I remember my crush that was in the same classroom as me ends up looking at me as if I was some sort of bad boy. Like, I don't know. I was about to kind of like look at her in like a really awkward, cool way, where it seemed like it was one of those like cool TikTok edits to see if like it would woo her. But at the same time, I don't know. I was panicking too much to really care. To be honest, it went more like, oh, like, please don't arrest me. Like, oh my goodness, like I mean it. Like I didn't mean it. Instead of me, you know, acting like a true bad boy. Yeah. I got arrested. I ended up going to the back of a cop car, and I ended up getting driven to the station. Did I actually get put into a jail cell? No, because I wasn't actually full on arrested, since the store never cares to actually charge kids that steal, which still doesn't mean you should go steal, but still. It kind of got to the point where my parents came, picked me up after sitting in the checking room of the police station, and basically my parents ended up getting fined with $280. That's basically the amount of clothing that I stole that day. My parents were really upset, obviously, at me, and they got really mad, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Was I proud to steal? Definitely not. Was it awkward to get arrested in front of my whole class? Definitely was the worst part of it, not the stealing part. Would I still steal to this day? No. But if you guys have ever stolen something, click on one of the videos on screen and subscribe for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.